The best additions to your resistance band training ranked. Hi, I'm Jonathan Pritchett with Theology, Geek Fitness, and training with resistance bands has been something that I've enjoyed doing for several years now, and it really started to get popular around 2017, 2018, but then really took off in 2020 when all the gyms had closed down. But now some of that hype has died off, and there's a group of dedicated, diehard people that just stick with resistance band training. A lot of them are in the X3 group or whatever. There are other companies that kind of fostered communities of resistance band training. Undersun being one of them, probably my favorite. Certainly the best online community. But for the most part, the hype has died down, and yet people still use resistance bands. In fact, I use resistance bands in just about every workout that I do. I was never one of those people who only trained with resistance bands, but I did like to do just resistance band only workouts every now and then. I was not ever opposed to that. Sometimes I like to just only train with bands, but I never have only trained with bands like as a method. I've always incorporated it with the other things that I use, like suspension training, sandbags, weighted calisthenics, or whatever, dumbbells, anything that I'm doing. I usually throw in some resistance band exercises, or I'm using them for assistance or even additional resistance, something like that. But even when I'm just training band-only workouts, I really don't use a whole lot of additions to it. I don't use a lot of handles or bars or plates or whatever. I mostly use my number one favorite addition to resistance band is a door anchor. Door anchors, or any sort of way to anchor your bands, opens up to a lot more possibilities than just band training without an anchor. Whether you anchor to the door, or anchor to a post, or whatever. I really like Undersun's indoor-outdoor anchor because you can use it as a door anchor indoors, or it has the strap to where you can tie it around tree trunks or posts or whatever you can find, branches. So you need to get some sort of way to anchor your resistance bands, and that really opens a lot of things up. The second addition that I use with resistance bands, and I've lately was using the Kinsui Swissies, the original Swissies. Those are probably the best of all the Swissy varieties that they have for using as handles for resistance bands. But as those who have followed this channel know, that I really only use handles for a couple of exercises, shrugs, biceps curls. Occasionally I'll use them for chest flies or rows or something, but most of the time, no. The next thing that you could think about using would be like a floor plate. And I have a floor plate, and I think that they're actually really good if you're going to be doing like deadlift type movements, or any sort of movement to where you're anchoring the band under your feet and you're using heavier bands, because sometimes the heavier bands will cause your ankles to fold in, and that's not really good for your ankles when you're using really heavy bands or you're stacking a lot of bands. So if you're doing those kinds of exercises that require a whole lot of bands under your feet, I think you should get a floor plate. So that would be my third recommendation. So I rank the floor plate number 3. And then, of course, the fourth and final thing would be a bar. I don't really use a bar hardly ever. But I mean, if you want to use a bar, that's fine. A lot of people use a bar for doing deadlift type movements. I get it. You can use handles for that as well. A lot of people will do chest presses with a bar. I get it. I don't do that. I either use handles or nothing, or just grab the bands. That way you can get a little bit more movement in there, abduction. So not really a bar guy, but some people like it. But that would be my, I would rank that like last of all the types of attachments that you could get for your resistance band training. So to recap, an anchor for sure. I've tried the those anchor straps. You see them from like Wad Fitters or Clinch or RBT Training, the quantum bands they use. Not a fan. Get the Undersun indoor outdoor. As far as bands go, get the Undersun bands. The best price quality balance there. I think Undersun's the best. To me, bands are bands. I've tried the Clinch and the Quantum and the cheap bands from Walmart. I've tried all kinds of different bands, molded, layered, dip layered, all these different types of processes they tout. At the end of the day, bands are bands, and if you want the best quality to price balance, get with Undersun, and you'll get that indoor-outdoor anchor with it. Handles, I've tried the Clinch, I've tried J-hooks, I've tried the Swissies. I know that there's some J-hook handles from Yes For All that have rotation. If you're a stickler for those kind of things, those might be a great option. I think the Swissies work fine. I think the J-hooks work fine. Handles are handles. I only use them for a couple of things, so don't really care that much about the handles. And again, the floor plate, to be honest with you, I mean, if you're just trying to mimic like weights, with bands, if you're just trying to mimic deadlifts and barbells, yeah, it's a lot less expensive to do it with bands. But if you're going to lift heavy bands, yeah, you probably need a foot plate, like I said, for to spare your ankles. But really, nobody cares what you can deadlift resistance bands. Nobody cares what you can chest press with a bar and how big of a resistance band you can chest press, like a bench press. I mean, to me, those kinds of things are really just imitating the normal barbell lifts. To me, it's just go use weights. It's really distracts from the benefits of the types of movements that you can get to target your muscles, whether it's compound or isolation, that you get from band training that's unique about band training. So I'm not a big fan of doing certain imitation, barbell exercises, but if you're going to do that kind of thing, you probably need a floor plate. And then if you just like to chest press with a bar, get a bar. Bar's dead last. So I think you get the most out of resistance band training with a door anchor, period. You don't really need handles. I do think that when you're doing biceps curls, having, when you're pulling up this way, having that band pulling down on your handle is a lot more comfortable. That's why I use it for that. Or when you're pulling for shrugs or something, instead of having the band bunch up in your hand. So there are a couple of different exercises like that I think is more comfortable to use handles. But for most exercises, don't need those. But any of them will do. Swissies, J-hook handles that you can find, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just like bands are bands, these attachments are attachments. Some people like the X3 or all the knockoffs that have the hooks that are easy to get the band in and out, as opposed to attaching the band directly on the bar, like is what I do. Or some people will use like carabiners or whatever on the ends and run the bands through those. It really doesn't matter. Get whatever you like if you have to have a bar anyway. And like I said, I have a bar where I attach the bands directly to it whenever I use it, which is almost never. So yeah, get a door anchor for sure. Maybe some handles. If you need a floor plate because you want to, impress people with how much you can deadlift resistance bands, and if you want to do that kind of thing, get a floor plate. They're really expensive, and you don't really get a whole lot more out of them, I don't think. Just my opinion. And then, get a bar if you want to impress people with how much you can chest press a big rubber band. Like I said, those kinds of things aren't my things. So me, door anchor and handles that you will use once or twice per workout, that's really all you really need. Those are the two best in that order: door anchor or indoor-outdoor anchor, and handles. And then a plate over a bar, but you don't really need it. And then a bar, you definitely don't need it, but that would be how I'd rank those things. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on that. When it comes to resistance bands, get Undersun bands and maybe some handles. You don't really need anything else. But anyway, appreciate you watching the video. If you liked the video, click the like button. If you didn't like the video, click the dislike button. I don't really care either way. If you want to support what we're doing at Theology Geek Fitness, you could do that by becoming a patron at patreon.com/theologygeekfitness. $1 gets you in the door for hundreds of workout videos where you can see me using the types of equipment featured on this channel, including dozens of resistance band workouts that you can follow along with, where you really just need an anchor because we don't really, use handles much and don't have any workout videos with plates or bars. But yeah, you can do that. $10 and above patrons get in on my quarterly gear giveaway. I do that 4 times a year because patrons make this channel possible. And if I buy gear to review, whether I like it or don't like it, if I'm not going to use it on a regular basis, I just offer it to the patrons. First come, first serve. So consider that, and I'd appreciate it, just like I appreciate you watching this video. We'll see you in the next one. God bless.